Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization. We're taking you to the ghost town of Deadwood. It's an old gold mine ghost town. It was being used by a helicopter logging crew when they had 3 Bigfoot sightings in 24 hours, and in the rest of the summer a lot of the loggers felt like they may have had Bigfoot experiences where they did not see the Bigfoot. In 24 hours, 3 Bigfoot sightings. It's just unprecedented. 5 people saw it in the 24 hours. We're going to take you through the Bigfoot sightings and show you the area. The Deadwood mining town was abandoned in World War II, and now a rancher owns part of it. He rents out some of the cabins that he refurbished. This is the old mining boss's cabin right here. This is where all the problems began. A bunch of the loggers that were camping here, some of them were looking for better accommodations and were thinking about using this, and they come in and they found a large nest in the boiler room. We're going to take you into the boiler room and kind of show you around, but there was a nest in there and they could smell the musky stench of what they think was a large animal. They couldn't figure out what had made such a large nest, what animal would have done that, and they cleared it out and then later decided, yeah, we're not gonna use this. I mean, some of them were looking for better accommodations, a lot of them were in trailers, some of them were renting refurbished cabins that the rancher had reclaimed, and then others were in tents. So I could see some of the tent people coming in here and saying, can we use this? And check out the bats and stuff. Yeah, so the large nest, the bats, I wouldn't want to stay in here either. But after they cleared out the large nest, I mean, they had been here for nearly a month when they did this, and then all of a sudden they started having Bigfoot problems. 3 Bigfoot sightings in 24 hours, and then after that, a lot of the people in the logging camp thought that they may have had Bigfoot experiences with the creature. After the first 24 hours, nobody saw the creature. A lot of people thought that they had Bigfoot experiences, but there was 5 people in 3 different sighting events, and we're going to walk you through each one of these sighting events. Me following the story and the timeline, everything seemed to have started here once they come in here and removed the nest out of the boiler room. That's when everything started. Perhaps the Bigfoot was living in this old mining boss's home. The first Bigfoot sighting was by the logger's water truck driver. He was about a half a mile away from the camp down at the river filling up the truck. He said it was about 3 a.m. and he was waiting for the truck to fill up. He had the floodlights on so he could see the hose in the water. He said that he had an overwhelming feeling that he was being watched. The Deadwood River is quite shallow and not very wide, so the other side of the river is very close. It's only about 25 feet across. He told us that he looked up and across the river to see a set of eyes that were watching him from behind a tree on the other side of the river. It was a very large and dark and very piercing eyes. He said it was much taller than a man and moved upright and quietly from one tree to the other, all the time watching him. He said that he had driven water truck for many years and he had never encountered anything like this before. He put in his resignation the next day after the sighting. That's pretty crazy. You know, this guy had been with the logging company for like 12 years. He was a seasoned logger, a seasoned outdoorsman, and whatever he saw that night was enough for him to pack up and leave his job of 12 years. Must have been pretty frightening. Later on that morning, the helicopter logging owner, his 14-year-old son, went deer hunting. It was the opening of the deer hunt season. He got up early and left the hunting camp. They were along the Deadwood River, which was a little more than a creek. He took out his rifle to see if he could get a buck that morning. He crossed the river and went up a hill to where he could get a better look of the river and the flats below. Our pilots were camped down the river about a quarter mile from our camp. As the boy was looking down towards the pilot's camp, he observed what he thought was a bear. It was down on the flats near the river. He thought it was a little unusual that the bear was walking very steadily on its hind legs, more like a human. The more he watched it, the more uncomfortable he began to feel. As he was watching it, it suddenly looked up and started staring back at him. He suddenly felt fear race through him as he felt his eyes lock onto it. He told us that he had never felt that feeling before or ever since. He said that it was very dark in color and was very tall and hairy. After it had stared at him for some time, it proceeded to walk towards him. He realized when it was moving in his direction, he turned around and started racing for camp as fast as he could. When he got to the camp, he ran into the fifth wheel and shut the door and locked it behind him. He then closed all the curtains and blinds. He was absolutely scared to death, and the thing that he saw coming at him, he couldn't get it out of his head, and he wouldn't come out of the camper until his mother came to pick him up a couple of days later. He kept the door locked all the time, the curtains drawn, even in broad daylight. The teenager described a dark brown to black covered creature, bipedal animal, that obviously had hands and not paws. The creature was somewhere near 8 feet tall and would move from one tree to the next, staying behind each one, trying to stay hidden as it moved towards the witness. The trees in that area were around 2 feet thick, and the thickness of the animal's torso was greater than the tree width. The witness felt a deep sense of fear. He said it felt like he was a quarry and was being stalked. He has not returned to the sighting area since. The final Bigfoot sighting was by the logging boss and his 2 sons. Later that evening, they were up above the encampments, deer hunting, and something was stalking them. A bipedal creature, a large creature, was following them. It was trying to stay hidden as it followed them. It was moving from tree to rock, rock to tree, and then it started screaming at them from behind the trees and rocks. So they made their way back to camp. Other loggers that had gone hunting claimed that while they were out, they felt like something was watching them and stalking them, and they also talked of a really strong, stinky odor.
We're sitting on the edge of a wilderness area that's the largest wilderness, untouched wilderness area in the lower 48 states. There is, what's the river named, Jenny?
River of No Return.
There's the River of No Return. We've been to where you just can't follow the river any longer unless you take a raft. The River of No Return is part of the Salmon River that runs through this wilderness area, and we're on the opposite side of the River of No Return from what I understand. So between us and the River of No Return, there's just nothing but forest, animal habitat. Doesn't surprise me one bit that the surrounding areas are dozens of Bigfoot sightings that go back hundreds of years. I mean, even the Native Americans in this part of Idaho talked about seeing the creature. And back then, before the term Bigfoot was coined, they called them wild men, and the Native Americans also had many of their own names. A lot of them were you know, the wild man of the woods, and in their language. I know from Utah, where we're from, there's a tribe of Indian, the Shoshone. I don't recall the word that they used, but when translated to English, it meant the cannibal giants. That was their word for Bigfoot. All right, folks, well, Jenny, Derek, and I, we got a lot more miles to put in Bigfooting this weekend. Of course, we know because someone saw a Bigfoot 20 years ago at this very location. All those sightings, Bigfoot doesn't sit on his thumb in one spot, so we're gonna have to spread out from this location and start looking around, and there's other Bigfoot sighting hotspots and sightings from here that we're gonna look into.
180, twisted, snapped down. This is the top of the branch that should have been up here. Anything good there, though.
Yeah.
Of what's growing and what's not.
So you hear some currants that need to ripen up.
And Something
these
that's
ones,
already eaten them.
most of these are all eaten.
More than likely the bears that have been up here eating them, but you know Bigfoot does. If he's an omnivore, he's gonna just...
A little bit redder ones right there in the middle.
Yeah, they're eating the ripened ones as fast as they're ripening is what it looks like.
And all the raspberries are gone too. They're all gone. Oh, there's some.
Great food source right by a water source.
A great place for a game cam.
Yeah, no kidding.
Popular demand, we've decided to look at a famous piece of Bigfoot footage. It's got many online speculators wondering if Bigfoot was born on the bayou.
On October 24th, 2013, around 6 p.m., 9 miles west of Tunica, Mississippi, Josh Highcliffe entered a swamp alone while hunting wild hogs. But what he experienced that evening turned into one of the most debated Bigfoot encounters online. And the reason people pay attention to this case is because Josh wasn't just someone passing through the woods. He was a hunter who knew the environment, understood the animals in that area, and knew what belonged in those swamps. Then something behind a tree caught his attention. Josh pulled out his phone and started recording. About 50 yards away, a large, dark figure covered in hair appeared to be pulling apart a cypress tree, not simply pushing it around, but moving it with a level of force that immediately looked unusual. And here's the part that makes people question the footage. Josh didn't stop recording. For nearly a minute, he kept the camera on the figure despite being alone in the middle of a swamp. Think about that for a second. If you were standing there watching something unknown tearing through a tree, would you keep filming, or would you already be running? Then the figure suddenly rises, appearing much larger than before. Moments later, the camera drops as Josh turns and runs, clearly shaken by what he had just seen. After the footage spread online, people had very different opinions. Some believed it was a bear, while others claimed it was a person in a costume. But supporters argue that the creature's size, movement, and behavior don't match anything ordinary. So what do you think Josh Highcliffe really encountered in that Mississippi swamp? On the night before Halloween in 2013, brothers John and Joel Brown were relaxing outside their rural property in Washington when they suddenly heard a series of strange knocking sounds coming from just behind them. The unusual activity wasn't new. According to the brothers, similar incidents had been happening around their property for more than a year. Thinking it could be connected to Sasquatch, they had borrowed a thermal camera from a local research group, hoping one day it would capture something unusual. As soon as the knocking started, John began scanning the area, and that's when he spotted a large heat signature beyond a nearby herd of cattle. Not fully confident with the camera, he quickly handed it to Joel. But by the time Joel started recording, the figure had already moved and was now standing nearly 120 feet away, with only the upper part of its body visible above a ridge. Later, researchers compared the figure with a reference pole at the location and estimated it could have stood over 7 feet tall and nearly 4 feet wide. Some skeptics claimed it was probably just a cow, but supporters quickly pointed out one detail. The thermal image showed no visible ears, something you'd normally expect to see on cattle. So what's your take? Was this simply a misidentified animal, or did these brothers capture something that still can't be explained? In late October 2020, the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization received a video from Logan Canyon, Utah, that quickly caught the attention of Bigfoot researchers. According to the witness, he and his son were driving through a well-known rifle hunting area when they noticed something unusual moving along a creek bed. At first, he assumed it was another hunter in the distance. But something didn't seem right. The figure appeared completely covered in brown, which stood out because during rifle season, hunters are required to wear bright blaze orange for safety. That detail made the witness question what he was actually looking at. They couldn't stop at the time because they had somewhere important to be, but a few days later they returned to the location to investigate the area more carefully. Working with the witnesses, the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization attempted to estimate the figure's size by comparing it with a 6-foot, 200-pound man. Based on their measurements and the surrounding environment, they suggested the figure could have been between 7 and 8 feet tall, with a build nearly twice as wide as their human comparison. Of course, without a closer view, the true identity of the figure remains uncertain. But the size estimate is exactly what made this footage stand out among other reported Sasquatch sightings. Alright, before you decide this is fake, watch what happens next. A lone hiker is making his way down a quiet forest trail when something dark catches his eye just off the path. At first, it barely looks like anything, but curiosity gets the better of him, so he pulls out his phone and starts moving closer.
He whispers quietly, trying not to alert whatever was out there, and then he sees it. Suddenly, the creature charges straight at him.
You can actually hear the hesitation in his voice. He's trying not to make a sound, because whatever is standing there hasn't noticed him yet. Then, everything changes in a split second. The figure suddenly explodes into motion and charges directly toward him. And here's the part people can't stop talking about: the way it moves. Notice how its arms seem to drop as if it's about to sprint on all fours. That's exactly why this clip sparked so much debate online. The camera immediately drops, and honestly, can you blame him? If something unknown suddenly rushed at you from just a few feet away, would you keep filming? This trail camera was installed deep inside a remote forest with one simple purpose: to capture local wildlife. But when the owner checked the images, one photo immediately stood out from everything else. The camera captured what appears to be a large, fur-covered creature walking away from the lens. Even though it's facing the opposite direction, the amount of visible detail is remarkable. Thick black hair covers its entire body, while the arms and legs show a surprisingly muscular build that many viewers say doesn't look like someone wearing a costume. As you zoom in, the shoulders appear unusually broad, the head has a distinct shape, and the hands seem much larger than what you'd expect from an ordinary person. The long, wide fingers have become one of the most discussed details in the image. The exact location has never been publicly revealed, but the photo is said to have been taken in 2023. Because of its clarity and high resolution, many Bigfoot enthusiasts consider it one of the strongest trail camera images ever released. Of course, a single photograph can never prove everything, but after taking a close look at this image, what's your verdict? Is this one of the clearest Bigfoot photos ever captured, or is there another explanation hiding in plain sight? Let me know what you think in the comments. This footage first appeared online on August 5th, 2024. And ever since then, it has left thousands of people wondering the same question: what exactly was caught on camera? The video is commonly known as the Jabes Cascade Bigfoot, but here's what makes it even stranger. Despite countless people searching for answers, almost no verified information has surfaced. Nobody knows exactly where it was filmed, who recorded it, or what happened after the encounter. In the footage, a dark, broad figure can be seen in the distance, moving in a crouched position as if it's trying to stay hidden. But the moment it realizes someone is watching, it suddenly changes direction and slips away with surprisingly fast, unusual movements. Many viewers say the way it walks doesn't resemble a normal human. Its long strides, body posture, and overall movement are exactly why this clip continues to divide opinions. A freeze frame gives an even clearer look at the figure, and based on its proportions, some estimate it could stand close to 7 feet tall. Without more evidence, nobody can say for certain what this creature really was. But that's exactly why this video refuses to disappear from the Bigfoot conversation. So after watching it, do you think this is one of the most convincing modern sightings? or just another mystery waiting to be explained? Let me know in the comments. Before this footage appeared online, the idea of a Bigfoot-like creature existing outside North America was mostly dismissed by many people. But a strange clip from Ukraine in 2011 caused researchers and viewers to look at the possibility from a completely different angle. The video shows a large, ape-like figure moving through a remote forest area. What immediately caught people's attention was the way it walked, upright, steady, and with a surprisingly controlled movement between the trees. Skeptics quickly suggested it was just a bear standing on two legs, but others disagreed, pointing out several unusual details. The long stride, the natural arm movement, and the smooth walking pattern didn't seem to match typical bear behavior. While bears can stand upright for short periods, they don't normally move with a consistent human-like rhythm, and that's exactly why this clip became one of the most discussed international Bigfoot cases, raising the question, from measures from gain, could a creature like this exist far beyond North America? That idea gained even more attention years later, in December 2018, when Russian television shared another mysterious incident along the Lipkinsky Highway. During an accident, people inside a vehicle began recording when a strange figure appeared in the snowy landscape nearby. Covered in thick black fur and walking on two legs, the creature moved slowly and calmly, staying visible instead of immediately disappearing into the woods. What made this encounter even stranger was the behavior. Many Bigfoot reports claim these creatures avoid humans, but this figure seemed to remain nearby, almost as if it was watching the situation unfold. So what do you think? Are these sightings evidence of a creature that could exist across different parts of the world? Or are there more ordinary explanations behind these mysterious videos? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. On November 17, 2005, a hiker standing on Silver Star Mountain in southwest Washington captured a few photographs that would later become one of the most debated Bigfoot images ever recorded. But when they were first taken, they didn't go viral or make headlines. They quietly circulated among hikers and a small group of researchers interested in unexplained sightings. It wasn't until years later that people started looking back at these images and questioning what exactly was moving across that snowy mountain slope. The hiker wasn't searching for anything unusual that day. They were simply enjoying the cold air, the snow-covered peaks, and the incredible views, taking pictures of the landscape. Then something in the distance caught their attention. Far below, a dark figure was crossing an open area of snow. At first, it looked like another person hiking through the mountains, so the camera came out and a few photos were taken. But when the images were viewed later and the figure was zoomed in, something felt different. The shape appeared upright, broad and unusually heavy, moving with slow, deliberate steps that didn't seem to match a typical hiker. Even stranger was the environment around it. No visible trail, no backpack, no trekking poles, and no obvious gear for surviving the harsh conditions. When the images spread online, viewers became fascinated by the dark silhouette. The wide shoulders, powerful build, and unusual stride created endless debate. But because the figure was so far away, there was no clear detail, only the outline. And sometimes, that outline is enough to create a mystery. The Silver Star Mountain photos have never been proven as real Bigfoot evidence, but they have also never been completely explained. So what do you think? Was this simply a distant hiker caught from a strange angle? Or did this mountain reveal something far more mysterious? Let me know in the comments.